works with guys. Anytime you do anything remotely sensitive, heartwarming, anything that's going to make you more of a loving, caring individual, immediately all your guy friends suggest that maybe, just maybe, you want to suck a dick. Oh, it's brutal. Even if you do something smart, right? Like it's raining out, he's got an umbrella. What a fag! Oh my God! What are you, afraid of the water? Put your shoulders up, you fucking homo.
It's official. I am a sexist male. You know what? And I'm not even that upset about it. Not because, I'm just a cunt, which I am, but it's because I always knew that I was somewhat sexist. But, it became official the other day when I picked my son up from school. And he proceeded to tell me about how him and one of his friends were playing basketball against, I think it was like 4 or 5 girls, right? And, he was talking about like how horrible of players they were. And, I wasn't like, yeah, girls suck. I wasn't saying that, okay, before anybody gets their fucking panties in a twist there. He's talking about like, they couldn't play defense, they couldn't shoot the ball, they pretty much couldn't do anything, to win the game. But then he told me that that him and his friend only beat these girls by 1 point. And it was at that moment that my internal sexism kicked into gear, and I told him that while it's not okay to make assumptions about the athletic abilities of girls, that it's not okay to, I don't know. I mean, I'm even as sexist as I can be, I also have a daughter, so I am still very aware that, that I shouldn't teach my son, nor, teach my daughter that being, that females are somehow like inferior or whatever, a lot of them seem to think that they are superior to males, and, in a lot of ways, sure. Okay. I'll give you that. We definitely, females definitely don't do as much dumb shit as we do. So, okay, in some areas of existence, girls are, or women, ladies, females, whatever the fuck it is you guys want to be called nowadays, chicks, that's what I like to refer to. And I love calling females chicks or sweetheart on Twitter, because it is almost guaranteed to cause a reaction, although I don't do it on purpose. I mean, I kind of do, right? But I mean, I don't do it with just any female. I won't do it to somebody that that I agree with, or at the very least I respect their opinion. But if it's somebody that's just being an absolute fucking twat on Twitter, and there are a lot of them, Twitter's twats. That should be like a group, huh? Twitter's twats. If they're being an absolute twat, I love throwing in that sweetheart, because it drives them up the fucking wall. But anyway, let's get back to what makes me a sexist, besides, that obvious fucking nugget of idiocy you just heard me say. I told him, I said, it's not okay to lose in any sport, especially basketball, or or if you played football. It's not okay that 2 boys barely eked out a win against 4 girls that, according to him, don't even really know how to play the game. So it wasn't so much a slam or an aside to the girls, and more like, dude, you gotta step up your game. I don't care what sport it is. Aside from baseball or I don't know, curling. Is that a fucking sport? I mean, they play it in the Olympics, right? There's not too many sports where a ball or something is heavily involved that it's okay for a guy to lose, or not lose, well, to lose, but to barely eke out a win. And I know it sounds fucking sexist, and of course there are caveats to this, right? So obviously, if I were to play a fucking game of one-on-one with a girl that's, plays for the WNBA, or fucking plays college basketball, or, obviously I'm probably gonna get beat pretty fucking badly, and I could accept that loss, because it's like, all right, you're on a much different level. I've never been very coordinated when it comes to basketball. So, it's very likely, well, it's not even very likely. It's absolutely going to happen that if I were to face, some college basketball player or a lady in the WNBA, she's going to make me look foolish. I can accept that. Just like when it comes to, to like fighting or some shit. Like, it's acceptable if you get your ass kicked by a girl that's, say, an MMA fighter or, whatever. Like, it's acceptable. I mean, assuming that you are not also an MMA fighter. Now, if you're an MMA fighter and you still get your ass kicked, I've got to wonder, is it possible that you might have a vagina? God, how fucking ignorant does this sound? I wonder how many people actually think I'm fucking being serious at this point. I mean, how many listeners do you think have already turned off the podcast because they think I'm being fucking serious? I mean, I got lots of fucking DMs, is what they like to call them now, fucking direct messages, because of my podcast yesterday when I went off on police, police officers basically being pieces of shit because they're still police officers, even though they are, some of their brethren are, basically executing people in the street, Well, I could understand the hate mail for that, because there are a lot of people that are very, I almost said confused, but that is implying that they're not smart. There's just a lot of people that are convinced that being a police officer is it means that the person is brave, that it's like a position of honor. And I mean, maybe a long time ago it used to be, but it isn't now. And a lot of people seem to think that, it's part of a police officer's job is to make it home safe at night. And, that is pretty much the exact opposite of what a police officer's job is. They're supposed to protect and serve, although, according to some random person online, apparently nowhere in their handbook is the words protect and serve mentioned. So, I mean, I know it's on their fucking car, but that's, it's kind of what's assumed, right? That they are the ones upholding the law and protecting society. So it's not their job to come home safe at night. It's their job to make sure we come home safe at night. And the fact that there are so many of them that seem to be scared to death of fucking, practically their own goddamn shadow, I have to question whether they are actually brave. Because it really, if every person you come across, gives you a case of the fucking shakes to the point where you are firing or emptying a magazine into somebody who is holding a book or a phone or holding nothing, or that's on the ground with, that's already fucking cuffed, that is, completely fucking cooperating. I mean, if all of these people are scaring you that much, then you really aren't very fucking brave. And and it's my opinion. It was my opinion yesterday. It's my opinion today that if there are police officers, that the fact that people are still continuing to be police officers, even though this shit is happening on a daily fucking basis, and they're not doing anything to fucking counteract it. When some police officer does this type of shit, he or she immediately hides behind the blue wall that's not supposed to fucking exist. I always thought that it's fucking weird, right? Because, if a police officer spots one of his fellow police officers, police brethren, doing something fucking horrific or whatever, and he goes and tells on that particular officer, and he's labeled a snitch, he's treated like shit, he's often, transferred to a different precinct, or he's given like a shit fucking job. But then these very same people have the nerve to go into, I wouldn't be a fucking podcast without my phone being bonging, but they have the nerve to complain about how in certain neighborhoods that the no snitching code is is stupid. It's a problem, and and this is why shit doesn't get fixed. And it's like, do you not see the fucking hypocrisy there? You treat snitches horribly, but you expect citizens that aren't bound by any sort of fucking rules, and aren't bound by the possibility of getting fired or whatever. You expect ordinary citizens living in what could arguably be considered war zones to snitch and be and show the bravery that you are so unwilling to fucking show. It's fucking hypocritical. But how did I end up talking about this shit? How many people do you think actually think that I was being serious? I mean, I am on some degree serious that it's kind of embarrassing for my son, or at least, I mean, it wasn't embarrassing for him. He fucking thought it was hilarious. But he's still young, right? He still hasn't figured out that there are certain like unspoken expectations of boys. Just like there are certain unspoken expectation of girls. It sucks, but it's reality. It's how fucking society functions. Okay? I know that there's a lot of women out there that are convinced that what they really want is a guy that's fucking super sensitive, and he's, he always fucking defers to his woman, and and he never, like he basically never fucking speaks up. He never asserts himself in any sort of way unless it's, on the job to make more money or get more status. Women, some women seem to be perfectly fine with that, but if he ever asserts himself around her, then somehow he's this huge piece of shit. There are a lot of women out there that are convinced that what they want is some like barely fucking masculine man. And I mean, I've said this in previous podcasts that women like to tell themselves that this is the type of dude that they want, but then when they get that dude and he turns out to be just this wishy-washy fucking wet fucking paper towel type of dude, usually what happens is she ends up cheating with the quote unquote bad boy that won't put up with her shit. And I mean, that's just the way shit goes. Okay, it is what it is. It's something, and it's not something that has been taught, right? Because that's a lot of that is like, oh, your masculinity is some sort of fucking social construct that's taught, and and it needs to fucking change. But the problem with that is you see the same fucking behavior in the lower species of the animal kingdom. Right? There's a male that usually is the protector and provider, and he fights and he does all sorts of things, and usually kind of keeps, I mean, we can agree that it's not, like, women shouldn't feel subservient in any way. There should be equality. But this idea that being a man and being, and operating in a certain way because of the way that men or males are wired, this idea that even though it's natural in the animal kingdom, that it's unnatural because we because we wear fucking socks, and talk on phones and drive machines. It's insane. Okay, yes, there can be equality, but this fucking movement by some women to try and like fucking neuter the male psyche is it's insane. You're basically at this point trying to reverse fucking nature. You're trying to reverse fucking evolution. Being men and feeling a certain way and desiring a particular, like, the thing that always confuses me, right, is you always have like whenever I'll just use myself as an example. Like, I'm not a fan of fucking feminist women, or the I'm a strong woman sort of fucking thing. I'm not attracted to it. Not because my ego or my psyche is so fragile. It's because I'm just not attracted to overly fucking aggressive women. I'm not. I don't have a problem with a strong woman, but if you're so fucking aggressive that our entire relationship feels like a power struggle, I'm not gonna be into that. The same way I'm not into women that have fucking six packs and fucking boulder shoulders. I'm not into that shit. I like my women soft and squishy, because that's how, in my opinion, that's how women should be. Soft and squishy. Now, am I going to force somebody to be? No, I'm not going to force anybody to be what I want. What I'll do is I'll find the one that I want. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these, like, quote unquote strong women, is they're convinced that they're, that these soft and warm and cuddly women are only that way because some man is forcing them to be so. And it's no fucking surprise, right, that usually the very strong, stubborn, I don't need a man type women usually are single or they're lesbians, right? I mean, I'm not just, talking out my ass here. That is, at least from what I've seen, that is usually what the case is. And there's a reason for it. Maybe not the lesbianism. That just, obviously that's something you're born with. But the being single, there's a reason for that, and it's because most men don't like overly fucking aggressive, yoked up women. It's just not something that we are attracted to, I think it's fucking great that, you've decided to cut out your own slice of the fucking world for yourself and pursue your dreams and all of that. And I 100% agree that, you know, you should get equal pay for equal work, and you should be allowed to, you know, to pursue any sort of fucking career you want. But the problem is, at least for me, is I'm not attracted to that. I'm not attracted to the independent woman that is more concerned with showing how strong and aggressive she can be. Just, you know, to me, it's fucking silly. You know, to me, that's like it's like the new age version of the woman that walks around with her tits practically hanging out, and, you know, and wears fucking booty shorts, and, you know, because there's obviously some degree of fucking, I mean, I know that women like to dress sexy sometimes, and I think that's awesome too, but let's just fucking call a spade a spade. There are some women out there that just have huge fucking self-esteem issues, and they feel like, well, the only way I'm going to get noticed is if I dress like this, or I act this particular way, or whatever, right? I suspect that the uber, you know, fucking feminist strong women out there, a lot of it's like the another version of that. Right? They just, there's some sort of fucking issue that's going on in their head, and they feel like they need to turn their entire life into a competition with the opposite species, and there's got to be some sort of like, I got to prove myself that I can hang with the boys, and or that I'm better than the boys, or whatever it is, right? You know, for me, you know, it's wonderful that, I mean, well, it's not wonderful. It's kind of sad if that's the case for you. I don't have a problem with strong women, or whatever you've decided to call a strong woman. I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous that you assume that if a woman, you know, actually cares about her man, and wants to make him a fucking sandwich, and, you know, and wants to dress up once in a while, and, you know, and is soft and cuddly, this insinuation that they don't qualify as strong women, I think is really, you know, it calls into question your own, I guess, sexism, right? Because in your mind, you know, apparently a woman is not strong unless she is 100% self-sufficient and doesn't need a man, you know. So I don't know. I don't even know how the fuck I ended up talking about this shit. But what I do know is that I'm just, you know, I'm not afraid of a strong woman. I love strong women. I just don't like overly fucking aggressive, super competitive, I can do everything better than you can type women. Because, you know, what kind of relationship are we going to have if everything is a fucking battle between you and I, you know? And the thing is it's like, I'm not even trying, you know, I've never been the type of dude was like, okay, I need to wear the fucking pants and what I say. I've never even been that kind of a guy, you know, but but at the same time, I've never wanted to be with somebody where I felt like, okay, you know, I mean, I've never been attracted to a woman that wants to fucking be in charge. You know, why would I want a woman that wants to fucking, you know, basically behave in the I guess the stereotypical fucking male version of the, why would I want to be with that? That would be like dating my mother, right? Because, you know, she basically, you know, whatever she wanted was done. Whatever, you know, it was her way or the fucking highway. You know, I don't want to date my mother. You know, so why would I pursue a woman that's gonna basically act that way? That I'm gonna have to check in with her and make sure, you know, she's okay, and always put her, you know, ahead of myself, and which I would naturally fucking would do, but this idea that I fucking have to is what fucks with me. And I'm pretty sure that for a lot of these women that you know, are pushing back against male sexism, I'm pretty sure a lot of them feel like, well, you know what, I'm tired of feeling like I have to fucking do this or do that, you know, and I get it. You know, I 100% get it. You know, I'm just not attracted to that, and it has nothing to do with my fragile fucking male psyche. It just has everything to do with I'm just not fucking attracted to that shit, and that's all there is to it. you know. Ugh, God. Started out talking, I was just fucking around. All of a sudden, I'm in this, like, very serious fucking conversation with you guys. It's supposed to be Friday. We're supposed to be having fucking fun. But yeah, like, I told him, I was like, dude, if you're playing against, I mean, I would say the same shit if it was him and his friend against a bunch of boys that sucked, right? It's not okay to barely, like, eke out a win against opponents that suck. That would be like if I don't know, for some reason I found myself in a fight against I don't know, 4 fucking toddlers, and I barely eked out a fucking win against them. Like, yeah, I beat them up, but they're still, like, sort of talking shit. They still feel like, you didn't really fucking do anything. That wouldn't be okay. If you heard that story, I mean, obviously it wouldn't be okay to be fighting fucking children, but if you heard that story, let's just pretend for a second that it's reasonable that an adult would somehow end up in a fight with 4 toddlers. You would fucking laugh your ass off if it turned out that I barely fucking won that fight. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So, it doesn't really matter that he, that it was girls that he was facing. It was just that, I mean, he went on and on about how badly they fucking sucked. And then to, like, and then to be, like, proud that you barely fucking won. I mean, it's just, for me, it's just like, well, where's your pride? That should feel like a loss to you. Because if you're barely, if you're barely winning to opponents that absolutely fucking suck, then doesn't that kind of mean that you suck? I mean, I didn't say this to my son, obviously, but it's just, it is what it is, right? I don't know, let's get off that fucking subject. I kind of feel like the more I talk about it, the more fucking ignorant I sound, and the more I put my fucking foot in my mouth further. So, let's just move on. Has anybody heard? I briefly read a story about Nestle. Apparently they are fighting. I don't know which fucking state. And I don't know the complete details. So you would think that maybe you shouldn't fucking talk about this shit if you don't really even know what the fuck you're talking about. But we here at the effing podcast, we pride ourselves in making blanket statements about topics that we are not 100% sure about, but we like to pretend as though we are an authority on current events. So we're just gonna power through. But anyway, apparently Nestle is trying to I don't know. They're trying to lay claim to, like, I think it's like 43, somewhere in the 40% of one particular state's or one particular city's water supply that they can use to bottle up and sell to people. And, this is not the first time that Nestle has sort of proposed this idea that they should be in control of the water source, and that they should be allowed to charge people for having water, which makes sense, in the realm of buying bottled water. Of course, I mean, I think it's ridiculous that you have to pay for water, but in that realm, yes. But they're talking about basically the water that is pumped into your fucking home. They want to be in charge of that. And this is not an unknown thing. Lots of people are very aware that Nestle is this fucking evil corporation that basically wants to control the water supply. Lots of people know this, but what I don't understand, and it's just like anything else that people fucking bitch about, right? People are aware that Nestle is fucking evil, and yet they don't stop buying their fucking products. It's the same thing with Amazon, right? Most people are aware that Jeff Bezos is a complete fucking scumbag, that, doesn't pay his workers well enough. A majority of his workers are on like food stamps and welfare. That there was the case of one of his facilities, like the temperature inside the facility. What the fuck is all that noise? It's a fax machine. Yes, we are the last family on the planet that still has a fucking fax machine. But anyway, one of his fucking facilities, the temperature inside the facility was like somewhere like 110 degrees or whatever, and people were fucking passing out. And he decided that instead of installing air conditioning, that instead he would just park an ambulance out front of the facility and just rush people to the hospital, because as far as cost, it costs him less to do that than to just give his employees some fucking air conditioning. The guy is a piece of shit, and he's like 100 and something, billionaire or whatever or I don't know if he's a trillionaire at this point. Maybe he's a trillionaire, I don't know. Apparently or supposedly he's like one of the richest fucking people on the planet, and people are aware of this. They may not be aware of the fact that he owns the Washington Post. They may not be aware that he takes a yearly stipend from the CIA for like $600 million. They may not know that he's on the board of the Pentagon and various other weapons fucking manufacturers or whatever. People might not be aware of that, but most people are aware that Jeff Bezos is basically the Lex Luthor of reality at this point. And you hear all the time, oh, Jeff Bezos is a piece of shit, fucking, look how he treats his employees. And and the funny thing about Jeff Bezos is, like, about a year ago, right, he sent out this like tweet or Facebook post where he's like, I really want to get into philanthropy. Right, and he was like, oh, send me suggestions of possible areas that I can fucking be of help. Right, this fucking twat sends that out. Meanwhile, his employees are on fucking welfare and food stamps and passing out in factories due to the fucking heat that he won't fucking do anything about, and he's asking how he could be a philanthropist some other way. The guy is an absolute fucking cunt, and people complain, but then it's like nobody stops fucking buying shit from Amazon, right? Everybody still has their fucking Amazon Prime account, and I'm not gonna pretend like I've 100% stopped using Amazon. I would say that I've cut back probably about 97%. But how many people have cut back at all? How many people that complain about fucking Amazon's practices and yet, in the same breath fucking will jump on there and order a fucking spatula, because it's a few fucking nickels cheaper online than it is at the store. I mean, the fact that basically when Amazon shows up into a state or a city and they basically just put all of the brick and mortar fucking businesses out of business. I mean, Amazon, one of the first fucking predatory fucking capitalistic shit that Amazon did was they decided to start. I guess there was this website that was like diapers.com, right, where people could, you know, fucking order diapers and they'd be fucking sent to their house, and that way they wouldn't have to run to the store, you know, especially if they have a newborn or whatever. Amazon came along and decided that they were going to sell diapers as well, which is not a big deal, but they decided they were going to undercut diaper.com's prices. And what ended up happening is diapers.com went out of fucking business. They, you know, this is a regular thing that Jeff Bezos does. You know, he finds an area that he can capitalize on, he undercuts it, and then he fucking turns around and tries to, you know, give his version of that fucking business. Like, you know, he's basically responsible for why, or Amazon is basically responsible for why all of the Barnes and Noble stores are closing, and Borders books, you know, that they're all fucking closing down. And now he's talking about, you know, I mean, Amazon's a reason because he started fucking selling books, and he would sell books cheaper than these fucking places, and these places shut down or had to close up shop. And then now he's talking about opening up a fucking bookstore. You know, the guy is absolute fucking scum. And yet people still fucking put money in his pocket. I don't get it. And the same thing with Nestle. You know, everybody pretty much, you know, aside from the board members of Nestle, everybody pretty much agrees that Nestle is evil. It is a piece of shit company, and it's run by the most evil fucking people that you can come across, and yet people still buy their shit. They still buy the fucking candy bars. They still buy their fucking water. I mean, at what point are people going to stop paying for their own fucking demise? I don't fucking get it anymore. It makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. It's the same thing with people that will fucking vote for and defend politicians that are basically going to make their lives worse. Or at the very least, they're not going to make their lives any better, but they will fucking vote these people in and defend them vehemently. I don't know how to say that fucking word. Fiercely. Let's go with that. Has anybody noticed how limited my fucking vocabulary is? At least once every podcast, there's a word that I want to say, but I can't fucking say it because I don't know how to pronounce it properly. I don't know. What the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah, the people that will vote against their own interests. They'll defend politicians that are guaranteed to fucking make their lives worse. And yet they'll complain. They'll be like, oh, the fact that, I don't know, the cost of fucking gas is ridiculous, or not gas. I don't know. That's not a good fucking example, but I don't know. They'll be okay. Let's take the tuition-free college, because there's people on all sides of this that whether they're Republicans or Democrats, whatever, that for some reason they are completely against tuition-free college. Doesn't make any fucking sense, but they are, right? And it makes sense if you are somebody that doesn't have to worry about the cost of college or sending your kid to college, or maybe you don't even have fucking kids. It makes sense that you would be like, I don't really give a shit about that. What blows my fucking mind are the people that have kids that are most likely going to have to go to college, or are on their way to going to college, that are barely fucking able to keep their head above water now, that you know that if they want to send their kid to college, they're going to go into ridiculous fucking debt. But they're still like, no, no tuition free college. No, how are we gonna fucking pay for it? Or that's ridiculous. Or that's ponies and fucking rainbows. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Same thing with the people that are struggling to keep their head above water, that are against Medicare for all. It makes zero fucking sense that you would be against something that would make your life better. But the thing is I mean, I know I started off talking about Nestle, and and I appear to be so fucking confused as to why people do the things that they do, but it's reality. That's why at this point I'm convinced that, I mean, part of the reason why I stopped getting into the Twitter fucking battles with people, and and I've cut down my usage of Twitter dramatically. Part of it is because it's not like the people that are, like the people that voted for Trump, or the people that are fucking still heavily Hillary Clinton supporters. I expect some level of, I don't know, stupidity, not stupidity, but I understand to some degree why they are, why they get into, can you guys tell that I'm fucking distracted by my phone? I'm gonna turn off the goddamn volume. I understand, I expect a certain amount of ignorance out of these people, right? What drives me up the wall are the people that or on pretty much most things, I agree with them on, or they agree with me, or the progressive, because I'm progressive. What drives me up the wall is you'll have these people constantly complaining about, this thing or the other, but then, like the Amazon thing or the Nestle thing or whatever, they'll fucking complain about this, but then they won't do what's necessary to fucking change it or solve the problem. A perfect example, right, is one of the things that we as progressives, fucking find, or one of the people that we find the most annoying, at least on Twitter, is Joy-Ann Reid, who is a host. She has a show on MSNBC or whatever. She's a total corporatist fucking cunt, right? 100% just, shilling for the mainstream media, shilling for the corporatist Democrats and all of that. And, she's a huge fucking annoyance. Her, and there's a few others, right? And I've suggested, obviously I'm not connected to everybody on fucking Twitter. I get that, my voice is one amongst billions. But one of the things that I've suggested and have actually gotten into disagreements with other progressives about is that, Joy-Ann Reid wouldn't be relevant if we just fucking ignored her. Her fucking clickbait tweets and articles, if we just stopped talking about her altogether. Her, Neera Tanden, fucking Peter Dow, what's the other the lady? I can't remember what her fucking name is right now. But if everybody just stopped retweeting her shit or their shit, stop talking about them, stop discussing them, stop taking the time to make fun of them, these people would fade out of existence. They'd stop being relevant, because they only really technically maintain relevance as long as they keep annoying progressives. right? As long as they keep annoying us and we keep responding to them and we keep making a big deal and we keep retweeting their tweets and all of that, then, you know, they continue to be relevant. They continue to have a fucking job, you know. So at this point, I no longer respond to any of them. You know, I don't react to their shit because I'm convinced at this point that none of them actually believe the bullshit that that they put out there. I think it's just, you know, part of it is they are paid to have those fucking opinions. And the other part is, well, they like the fucking attention and they know that, you know, bad press is still fucking press, right? So as long as they can, you know, maintain their fucking relevance, it doesn't matter that they sound like dipshits. You know. How did I end up talking about this shit? We're like 45 minutes in. I don't know. I'm sick of fucking people. It's basically what it is, right? Everybody fucking annoys me. But yeah, so fucking I don't know what else do. What else you guys want to talk about? Should I just keep? You know what? I think I should end it here. My apologies that it wasn't as entertaining as other podcasts, but, you know, what am I supposed to do? I fucking gave you a podcast on Tuesday. I gave you a podcast yesterday. I'm lucky that I even have anything to fucking say on this podcast. So you guys should just back off with all the, you know, how come your fucking song and dance didn't put a fucking smile on my face or a chuckle in my fucking belly or whatever the fuck it is, you know. You get what you get from me, all right? And, you know, if you are new to the podcast, I don't know if I said this already in this one or not, but, you know, if you are new to the podcast, I do a couple of these a week, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. Occasionally I'll give you an extra, you know, it really depends on what's going on in the world. If there's some shit that I need to, you know, or not need, that I want to talk about or whatever, you know, it really depends on that. But usually I do Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're not all politically fucking heavy. In fact, I think I've been doing pretty good lately with sort of avoiding the political fucking talk. But, you know, occasionally you gotta fucking do it, right? But anyway, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. If you're new, welcome. If you've been listening to the show for, you know, whatever amount of time, fucking thanks for supporting the fucking show. And how do you guys feel about my new intro? I know there for a while it was Louis C.K., which I fucking hope to God that he makes a comeback. I know that they're, you know, the Me Too crowd is like, they're trying to put anybody that ever did anything fucking out of business for the rest of their life. But, you know, Louis C.K. was a, you know, or is, I don't want to say was, he's a fucking hilarious comedian. I hope he fucking makes a comeback. But I decided to switch it up for Bill Burr. For those of you who are like, who is that fucking guy in the intro? It is Bill Burr. I recommend you check out his fucking podcast if you haven't already, or fucking, you know, watch some of his fucking comedy specials. He is he's one of the fucking greats, you know. I would put him definitely like in my top, I don't know. I don't want to say, well, I don't know. I'll put him in my top 5 or top 10 fucking comedians. You know, who would those be? I mean, obviously number 1 for me, just because, you know, when I was a kid, you know, I listened to a lot of his shit. So obviously fucking Richard Pryor is number 1. Number 2 is probably George Carlin. Bill Burr might be number 3. Dave Chappelle is definitely on that fucking list. Who the fuck else? Doug Stanhope. I don't know. There's so many fucking comedians out there. You know, Seinfeld. Chris Rock, of course. Louis C.K., of course. I like Brian Regan. You know, he's one of the few, you know, completely clean, you know, stand-up comedians that I actually enjoy listening to. I don't think I've ever heard him curse ever. But, you know, the dude's fucking hilarious. Who else? I don't know. I can't think of it. You guys don't give a shit. What am I talking about? I was getting the fuck out of here. I was wrapping this shit up. Anyway, you know, I hope you had a good week. It is fucking Friday, so, you know, the weekend's tomorrow, and hopefully if you, you know, if you don't have work, you can have a good fucking weekend. And if you do work, then, you know, I feel bad for you, but you should have made better fucking life choices. Anyway, alright, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Take it easy, don't take any shit, and go fuck yourself. Peace.